All right, so since we're young, the schools that we're in, I'm assuming that all of us have educated here in the States, schools have always presented us with anti-smoking messages, assemblies, everything that just, informs us of the negative health effects of smoking cigarettes, basically. So I'm going to assume that, so everyone knows what we're talking about, right? Yes. Right? So I'm going to assume that everyone knows that smoking is bad for your health. Kind of common knowledge, right? So, all in all, you can say that smoking, it should be the negative health effects of smoking and why it's bad for you should be common knowledge to society as a whole. So, and that the minority of people that do pick up smoking, are making personal choices to take that risk of getting lung cancer. Now, the signing of this fairly recent it's called the Family Smoking Prevention and Tobacco Control Act. It was signed in 2009, and it had provisions regarding the flavoring, advertising, and sponsorships, and package labeling of tobacco and cigarettes. And I believe it disregards, personal choice and responsibility, smokers' rights and the rights of tobacco companies as a business. It holds tobacco, and in my opinion, it holds tobacco companies to an unfair standard in comparison to other industries such as the fast food industry. Now, first of all, on June 22nd, 2009, the act was put into law, okay, which and it gives the FDA the authority, and I quote, from the FDA website, it gives the FDA the authority to regulate the manufacture, distribution, and marketing of tobacco products to protect public health. Now, one of these provisions, okay, which was put into effect on September 22nd, 2009, it basically bans flavored cigarettes. And their grounds on this was, to emphasize the importance of reducing the number of children who start to smoke at an earlier age. Now, I believe that this act basically assumes that the tobacco company is at fault because of this, that they sell flavored cigarettes. Now, whatever happened to personal responsibility, children should know that smoking is bad. They're educated every day, whether it's by through school or the parents or TV even, that smoking will kill you in the long run. Okay, and so why should the tobacco companies basically be giving up that portion of their business, because of stupid decisions and stupid acts of children? It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. And in terms of, if you're talking about the use of the word children, by the FDA, we can assume that they mean kids that are under 18, right? Minors. So if that's the case, minors shouldn't be in possession of cigarettes in the first place. I noticed that would be a problem in that it would probably like the way that minors are getting their hands onto on cigarettes would be because the store owners failed to check ID. Possibly parents buying cigarettes for the kids or friends or older brothers and sisters. Why should the tobacco companies be held accountable for that? A second point here is that if the FDA is so concerned about flavored cigarettes enticing kids, what about flavored alcohol? If you're going to make the argument that flavored cigarettes will basically entice children, it'll lure children to smoke, what about flavored alcohol? You have Smirnoff, you have all these different flavored vodkas. You can make the argument that flavored alcohol will convince kids to drink at an earlier age. And if they're going to do that, they might as well tell the public, okay, that that's what flavored alcohol will do, and they should just ban it if you want to be fair across the board. And in the end, it's up to the choice of the consumer. All the information that is out there, we should all know the effects of smoking. So why should the tobacco companies be held accountable for the choice of the consumers and the possible neglect of laws by store owners? Now, a second effect of this act, is that this act requires bigger and bolder warning labels. Okay, so in another provision, in section 201, I quote, cigarette packaging health warnings will be required to cover the top 50% of both front and rear panels of the packaging, and that these messages must be accompanied by color graphics showing the negative health consequences of smoking cigarettes. Now, I believe that this is a really unfair standard. Okay, cigarettes are not the only products that are being sold to us that have long-term negative health effects. Major consumption of fast food. Okay, you eat too much fast food, what are you going to get? You're going to get heart disease, type 2 diabetes. You're going to become obese, right? That's a long-term negative health effect, and which you can die from as well. And I'm aware that there's already laws requiring nutrition labels, but the thing is that there's no laws requiring fast food chains to post up images of clogged arteries and obese people on their the graphics for burgers or their drink, their cups, or even on their windows. Yet cigarettes, are they're basically supposed to put pictures of what the black and lung on the packaging. That's a pretty unfair standard, because both industries sell products that can kill you, and so why only the tobacco industry? Now, finally, there are also sponsorship restrictions with this act. In the Family Smoking Prevention and Control Act, regulations restrict sale and distribution of cigarettes. And another quote from the FDA: they restrict the sale, distribution, and promotion of tobacco products to make them less accessible and attractive to kids. Rules and regulations are also Alright, so basically these rules and regulations are also provided an unfair standard between the tobacco industry and other industries like the fast food industry, which is like a prime example that I'm using here. In Section 102, the FDA has the authority to issue regulations that limit color and design of packaging and ads. Now, I find this incredibly hypocritical because you compare the tobacco industry to the fast food industry. You look at Happy Meals, for example, right? They're really colorful. They also include a toy, right? That's basically enticing children. Hey, just eat our food, you'll get a toy, right? Now, I don't see the FDA trying to post laws, that would ban toys from Happy Meals, right? Because I'm pretty sure that would cause public outrage. Okay, people would just be like, hey, we as a consumer have the right to purchase whatever we want. Why are you making this decision for us? This same argument can be used, when it comes to the tobacco industry. You have the choice to buy cigarettes, to choose to buy cigarettes or not. The second point is that also found in Section 102, it bans the tobacco product sponsorship of sporting or entertainment events, which is also ridiculous in my eyes because given what we know about the long-term negative health effects of eating fast food, you still see fast food sponsorships of major sporting events. If you look at the NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, they're sponsored by McDonald's, Taco Bell, Papa John's Pizza, Pepsi, Coke, Doritos. The list goes on forever. Okay, I mean, hell, McDonald's even sponsors the Olympics, right? So it's if both industries sell products that will kill you, why are there more restrictions on one over the other? Now, we all know that tobacco companies, right, sell products that are proven to kill us. But the thing is, it's still a business, though. The main function of a business is to make money, right? If there's a demand for the product, okay, and the product will continue to exist, and the company should have the right to continue business as usual. The choice falls on you, okay? Cigarette companies are not putting a gun to your head or a gun to your gut and telling you to smoke. They're just putting the product out there, okay? And basically this act, is like a direct contrast to this idea of personal responsibility because it takes this responsibility off of society, and puts it onto the tobacco companies, which is, in my opinion, unfair and unjust. If the FDA is going to be this strict on products, okay, that are proven negative health effects, it should apply to other industries like the fast food industry and the alcohol industry. And if they're not going to do that, they should just stop regulating tobacco companies on these grounds, okay, and let society make their own choice and be held responsible. And I'm just hoping that the points I presented to you guys gave you all a different perspective on the tobacco industry. Just remember who makes the choice to smoke or not. It's really not the tobacco companies. They're putting product out there. It's up to us if we want to smoke or not. We don't have to buy cigarettes. And should we leave it up to the FDA and the government to make the choices that we're capable of making on our own.